was playing for an unfashionable outfit, Albion Rovers at the time. I scored 31 goals, finished Scotland's top scorer, and on the back of it I was looking for a move. Nothing was coming my way, and it was down to a guy called Andrew Gold who worked for the Weekly News. He phoned me and says, listen, why don't we send letters to first and second in England and Premiership in Scotland? To which I was a bit reluctant, if I'm being brutally honest. I thought, I'm not going to beg for a game of football. I finished Scotland's top scorer. Anyway, a week or two later, he arrived at my parents' house, stamped addressed envelopes. He said, look, just sign this letter. The letter went something like, hi, I'm Bernie Slaven, 24 years of age. I genuinely think I could be a success at your club. And he asked me to sign them. I felt obliged, signed them. I was invited down for a trial at Middlesbrough, and it wasn't via a letter reply, it was via a phone call. And my second trial game was against Bradford City at St Park. I was fortunate enough to do well. I mean, it can go one or two ways. On the night, everything went to plan. We won 4-1, I scored 2 and made 2.
I think Bernie scored 2 that game. I'm not sure that I scored 2 as well.
You know, I arrived at Middlesbrough, they were struggling at the time. I was the last signing in the door, looking for a saviour. Unfortunately, I couldn't save them. We were relegated, liquidated, bankrupt, and it was an absolute nightmare. You know, thinking I'm coming to sample full-time football and experience the English leagues, it was an absolute nightmare.
There was a real sense of unity, which was massively important because having come from where Boro were, bankrupt, players effectively sacked, no kit, the gas turned off, there was nothing there.
What I must say is, I don't think I played with a better finisher than Bernie Slaven. What an absolute brilliant finisher it was. You know, when the ball went into the box, bang, in the back of the net, he would sniff a goal out of anything he was. It was just, his goal ratio was phenomenal.
And the thing with Bernie, he didn't always go for power. He used to try and place things, you know what I mean, in the corners, and he was very adept at doing that. And I think it's a calmness. I think the best finishers kind of have that, when it comes across in a split second, can seem to be able to calm the body down and be able to pick a spot. Whereas if it's something that flashed across to me, I'd just lash out at it, you know what I mean, and hope for the best. I think finishers like Bernie and Coley and Shearer and the best finishers that I've played with and against have that moment of clarity in them situations and can pick a spot.
Proctor's there, Slaven, but Middlesbrough, and they go 1-0 up.
You know, he'd take that chance, which a lot of players today in partnerships, they don't anticipate what the centre forward's going to do. Bernie did, and Bernie scored a lot of goals last year.
He can be very impulsive, he can be Mr. Angry, he can be quite volatile, except when it comes to animals. When it comes to any animal, and it doesn't matter what animal it is, Bernie's as soft as a brush. And I like that. As a veterinary surgeon, I really like that. And it doesn't matter whether it's a blackbird that comes to his bird table. He had ponies when he was living down near us, but they were all treated the same. And I think it was in his genes as well, because his parents were exactly the same as Bernie. They were animal daft. And that was something that endeared to me when I first met him, that this chap is a very complex character.
Bernie was very arrogant and very assured of himself. He always thought he was he'd tell you, he would tell you to your face, he'd say, that he was a good player. He was...
You can't allow him a sided goal. Full marks to Stuart Ridley, so strong, and the cross picked out by Slaven, who picked out the back of the net.
The fanatic that he was can hurt, and I've never seen Bernie move so fast, because Bernie, maybe wasn't always the quickest, but he kept hurtling towards the supporters to celebrate. And behind him, you could see the blue hordes, and you could also see the police dogs and the horses coming onto the pitch, knowing that there was going to be trouble. Bernie, and I saw Bernie look over his shoulders looking for his teammates. Those were the teammates in sight. They'd all shot down the tunnel. So Slaven came to the fence, looked round, saw there was nobody with him, other than these blue hordes behind, and again, he shot off like hell, and I've never ever seen Bernie move so fast.
As a goal scorer, you've got to be selfish, and that's what Bernie was like as a player. And I remember one particular instance, we were playing at Emerson Park, and we came in at half time, and Bernie's having a shocker in the first half. Indeed, a few of the players were, and Colin Todd was the manager. He has a go at Bernie, so Bernie retaliates back verbally to Colin. So full blown row. Bernie gets a hook. So we remain in the dressing room at Ayerson Park. Adjoining the dressing room is a door going into the toilet and a big communal bath and what have you. So Colin Todd finishes his team talk. 5 minutes later, once he's finished it, I open the door to go in where Bernie had gone. As I walked through that door, I look on your right hand side is a bath. So I double take. What I see is this number 7 jersey floating in the water like that, and I'm thinking, oh my God, Bernie's committed suicide. He's committed suicide. I get afraid of my life. Next minute, honestly, for that, next second, Bernie comes through. He'd been in the toilet, comes out the toilet and says, "Hi, Endo, all right, mate," like that. And I thought, geez, what have you?
I just remember him arriving and being put into the reserve team. I think Bernie tells a story. He didn't particularly like the look of me when he saw me on the team bus. Probably because I kept myself to myself at that period of time. I was a newbie, and I think Bernie's on record as saying he was so pleased because he didn't like the look of me. So he was a strong character as well. You know what I mean? He wouldn't back down. If he felt he was right in an argument, I think it's got him in trouble plenty of times over the years. But I admire that in somebody. Roy Keane was very much like that. You know what I mean? Whether he was right or wrong, if he believed in something, he would shout it from the rooftops. And Bernie was the same. If he felt as if he was being wronged, he'd stand up for himself. And I admire that in a guy. And plus he also didn't drink, which meant when we were going out to the clubs and the pubs, meant I had a taxi for the evening. So we're in the dressing room, and obviously you kitted as a number, and you obviously want to sit next to 2 and vice versa. So you were 7, I was 8. So I was sat next to you in the dressing room, and this particular afternoon you'd had a frustrated game on the wing and wanted to play more central, where you were right, you were more effective as a central striker than a wide attacker. And you came in ranting and raving and telling the manager, I think it was Bruce, or was it Colin Todd, or it was both, that you'd had enough playing wide and you want to play central, and you can stick anyone out there, but I'm not playing out there. And you told him as it was. In the meantime, you started taking off your kit. So I think, aye, he's going on here, he's going on a strike. So Colin Todd was, I think you're right, yeah, Colin Todd was Bruce's assistant. He's adjacent to me in the corridor, or sorry, in the doorway, and he's making eyes at me as you're starting to take your kit off, your top, and fling your boots. Toddy's making eyes at me to get them back on. So I'm like your father, trying to get these boots and shirts back onto your shirt onto your top, onto your body, and your boots back onto your feet without you knowing your tantrum that you're still right. Oh, you're gone. You'd seen the red mist and you were flipping. Anyway, I managed to sort of get him on in a funny old way. And I think you went out second half as you would, scored. I think we won the game, and I think you stuck 2 V's up with Bruce and Colin.
We'd talk about the Boro in the schoolyard, but I was probably into comics and books and stuff when I was really young, which was unusual. My mum always said that was what I would take an interest in, and I would kick the ball around in the playground, but then the kind of bug hits you where you start wanting the shirts, and I used to collect Match and Shoot magazine and look at all the stats and stuff and the player ratings. Away from just going to the matches, I remember you scoring a hat-trick against Coventry, and David Speedy scored a hat-trick.
Yes.
And we won 4-3. So obviously it's great when you win a game. I wanted to be a footballer, and that was all I used to think about apart from music. And I was kind of obsessed with music and football. And in the end, obviously I'm now a singer, and I've been in a band for 15 or 16 years now, and I'm amazed really that I've managed to make a living out of it and doing something that I love and doing something that I want to do, which is kind of, I suppose, very similar to playing football.
I've heard this mad rumour that as a kid, obviously a kid, you had a picture of me next to your bed.
Well, I had a number of different football posters from the Evening Gazette, had the team photo on one wall, but yes, you were probably on the wall where my bed was, right next to my light, I had a little reading light at night. I had your autograph to Paul, best wishes, Bernie Slaven, because my Auntie Pauline had seen you in the Mall.
In the Mall nightclub.
Yeah, in the Mall nightclub, not drinking, teetotal.
Still am.
And she knew that I was a big fan, and she got your autograph.
I was fortunate enough to score 7 hat-tricks for Middlesbrough, but the pick of the bunch must be the hat-trick against Coventry City. It was no First Division, the equivalent of the Premier League. There was an experienced goalkeeper in for Coventry that day called Druzovic, who was a very good goalkeeper, I have to say. And to score 3 and win the game 4-3, I don't think it was any mean feat. I mean, the goals were unlike myself. People classed me as a tap-in merchant, which I probably was in the main. But this particular game, there was volleys and long-range efforts, and on the day they all happened to fly into the corners of the net. Regarding celebrations, my celebration when I scored the goal was jumping in the fence. I mean, if I jumped in it these days, the fence would probably fall down or put on that much timber. No, but seriously, everybody's got different styles. Ravanelli used to pull his shirt over his head and expose his six-pack. Unfortunately, I didn't have a six-pack. Fjortov would go about waving his arms like an aeroplane. I didn't like flying. So my forte was jumping in the fence. It wasn't something that I rehearsed and thought, oh, I'm going to do this if I score goals. Anybody will tell you, or any goal scorers will tell you, when the adrenaline kicks in, you do things out the norm, and mine was jumping in the fence. My style as a player, I was tough, I was great in the air, tough in the tackle. No, seriously, I had none of those qualities. My style as a footballer was I had a good left foot, I could pick a pass, I could create things, and I could score goals. I think I had a decent first touch. And I laugh at people that always say, you were caught offside all the time. I still get people say, you get caught offside. Yeah, I did, but I only got away with it 147 times. My last goal for Middlesbrough was at Ayresome Park, and it was against Manchester United and against my old teammate Pally. I did say to Pally before the game I would score, and I'm grateful I did, but unknown to me at the time, it was my last goal for Middlesbrough Football Club. The ball came in for the right, again in front of a packed Holgate end. I think it went through Phelan's legs, the centre-back, and I kept my composure and I stroked into the bottom left-hand corner against Peter Schmeichel, who was the best keeper on the planet.